Should we come on? Right, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Talks Tasha. And we are back. And this is live, isn't it, Beth? We're here, up
Yes.
here. So, Beth, it's so good to have you on Talks Tasha. And I thought it'd be lovely to have you up here to encourage people and just to talk, really, and just relax and just share your journey or just tell people a bit about yourself. So, you are the Beth B Project from America. So, would you like to tell us where you're from and what you want to discuss?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. The Beth B Shift is a podcast that I thought to put together to offer people, I don't want to say advice, but to share my lived experiences so that people can learn from them, because there are a lot of professionals who have a lot of information that they can share. But sometimes, when it comes from a space from a person who's actually experienced it, when it comes from a person who can actually tell you, what they did, how they strategized, how they moved forward, how they process thoughts, and how they use it's in conjunction with professional care. Because I am an advocate of professional care. I think it is helpful. But I do think, once we hang up the phone and they're no longer available, we have to take strides. There's some mundane work we have to do in the interim to become a better version of ourselves.
That's right, and that's one thing we've got to do. So I saw you on Facebook, and you was talking about not looking back, and the story in the Bible of Lot and his wife when she looked back, and I thought that caught me, because it was like you was talking about not looking back because that's what destroys you or that's what does damage. So would you like to sort of elaborate on that, of just looking back in our past, or people who are stagnant looking back and they can't move forward?
Absolutely. So part of the reason that we do look back is because we're attached, right? Attachments, emotional attachments, identity. So those are some of the things that encourage us to look back. It holds us back in that space. And here's perspective. So if a person is married, if a woman marries a man, she is now identified as that man's wife. People call her Mrs. So-and-so. That's an identity. She becomes attached to that identity. That is how people start to acknowledge her, and they start to attach her not only to her husband, to the name, but to the family that is associated with them. If that couple gets a divorce, that's a part of her attachment, her identity, that she now has to release. And sometimes in that space, it can be difficult because she's been identified as Mr.'s wife for so long. The human thing is to look back on the marriage, miss some of the pieces of the marriage, miss promises from the marriage, miss the other person associated with the marriage. Children, if she has children in that marriage, she is now identified as the mother of those children. So the identity is what really has a strong hold of who we are, how we're respected, and how we're viewed. So when there's a disruption and that is disconnected, we find it sometimes it's difficult for us to detach from that identity. And I think in the case where Lot's wife, I don't think she looked back specifically because she was going to miss the place. But, if she raised children there were special moments between her and her husband. There were special moments where she was a mother raising her children. The Bible doesn't tell us, but I'm quite sure she sold stuff in the market. And those relationships that you build when you are building a career, or when you are managing your own business, or when you are doing something productive, and you have these relationships that you build with people, those relationships become your family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So her having to leave that space, no matter how corrupt it was, no matter how bad a situation is, sometimes our identities are attached to it. And because of that, we have to disconnect from it. But human nature says, I love it. I want to keep it. I have hopes that it can do better. Let me see if I can. And then when it's abruptly interrupted, that's when the look back starts. And it can be unhealthy. And those are the spaces we have to learn how to manage. You have to learn to manage in that space.
Wow, that's powerful. That is. I was just sitting here thinking when you're saying that is people sort of gripping on to things. So how would somebody sort of release, like you're saying, they're holding on, but some people might find that hard to sort of release and let go. So how does that person sort of let go and detach from the past or detach from something if they're really gripped onto it? Is there steps that you got to take
Yes.
slowly, bit by bit?
So, first, we have to acknowledge the fact that we can never completely detach from anything. Some things are stitched in the fiber of our very well being. And because of that, they'll always be a part of us. If I'm married today and I get divorced tomorrow, I'm the ex of this person. I will always be the first or second, third wife of that person. So that's ingrained now and it's a part of my identity. I'll never get rid of it. There's records that show, people who show photographs that show Facebook posts that can prove that that's a part of who I used to be. So I'll never erase that part of me. But what I can do in the moment is I embrace that that was a part of me. Appreciate who I was when I was that version of myself. And then slowly but surely start accepting the new pieces that are identified with who I am today. And that's hard. It is hard. It is a difficult space to be. It is difficult when you don't feel comfortable in the new skin you're being encouraged to live in. That is difficult. But we have to give ourselves grace. We have to be considerate and compassionate with ourselves. The same advice that I would give you if you were going through a hard time, that is the same advice that I have to follow myself. And we're not perfect, right? These thoughts come into our head, these thoughts, these intrusive memories come. And they come randomly because now we're missing, right? We're missing, and then stages of grief start to set in. And those are the things we cannot control. They're beyond our control. But if we learn how to process one thought at a time, how to accept the memory, love it for what it was, stop it where it is, and dismiss it. We have to learn how to start dismissing intrusive thoughts and things that no longer serve us. Because when we don't do that and we stay in that place, we stay stagnant in that place, those memories run around our heads rent free, like we're
Yeah.
subscribed to the past. And
Mm.
those are the things that keep us back. If we stay there, like I'm not, if I'm thinking about my marriage and I'm thinking about a wedding and I'm going, oh, I looked really pretty in my wedding dress. I wish I didn't have to be not married anymore. And then I start thinking about my ex and it's like, I wonder what he's doing. Oh, I wonder who's with him. I wonder if he's happy. I wonder, those pieces are not my business. Me noticing and acknowledging how beautiful I was in my dress is my business. So learning how to dismiss those thoughts that no longer concern me are the things that are going to help me dismiss unhealthy thoughts, help me to get over accepting unhealthy behaviors that were attached to those memories, because each memory has its own feeling. It has its own set of emotions. So when we think about something, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, there's some emotion attached to it. And those are the things, if it's unhealthy, we stay right there. Sometimes if it's happy, we stay right there. We have to learn when to see the thought, acknowledge it, and move on from it.
Oh, that is so rich and so empowering. And I like that you said something about subscribe to it. And yeah, it's true. Like when people are married, them names will never go away and you're
Yeah.
still going to be known as that person. So some of you might be watching and you're still sort of subscribed to the past, or you're still in that mindset. It's learning a new way of being and sitting comfortably in this new person. And like you said, it is scary to sort of embrace that new person, isn't it?
Yes.
that you're becoming and evolving into. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
That
Because
is
you're
the scary
unfamiliar.
part.
You're
It
unfamiliar with
is
that version of
unfamiliar.
yourself. You have no clue what
That's
you're gonna
right.
do.
Yeah, it's a brand new person. So have you got a sort of a life experience that you've gone through something yourself that, you can sort of attach this to, or something that you've gone through?
Absolutely. And I use that example because I am an ex-wife. There was a time when I was in a marriage, and when you're married, you expect that marriage to last forever. You make promises to one another. You start building together. You start sharing ideas about what your future is going to look like. Where you're going to live, where you're going to buy a house, how many children you're going to have, how you're going to raise them, where they're going to grow up, what you're going to name them. And when those things come to pass, you start moving in a direction where you're like, okay, I'm feeling safe. And everything around me start to become familiar. Like I knew I could plan my week. I could plan my month. I could plan years ahead. I would plan vacations and things for us to, places for us to visit when our anniversary would come around. And at one point, there were some differences that we couldn't overcome. And when the nature of that relationship started to change, I had to become different versions of myself. And some of them I did not like. I have a in my opinion, I have a pretty decent personality. A social butterfly, most people would describe me as. I can adapt to, my environment and maintain the integrity of who I truly am. And having that characteristic, I couldn't figure out who I needed to be from day to day. And it was changing moment to moment, because I went from this person's wife to now being this person's enemy, being a co-parent to being the one who had to figure it out, being the one deciding, am I going to ask, for financial assistance with my children, or am I going to just overcompensate because I don't want to have the conversation? But each time I had to make a decision, each time I asked myself one of those questions, I had to become a different version of myself in order to carry out that task. Because if you're in a marriage and you're used to you know um, discussing things with your person, coming to an agreement. Once you come in agreement, you carry out your task, I carry out my task, and then this plan that we put in place comes to fruition. But when you can't have those conversations anymore, you have to make decisions on your own. And each piece or each decision in that instance creates a different version of you. And some of those versions you're unfamiliar with. You don't know why you're angry. You don't know why you're feeling what you feel. You know that you're missing your person. You don't really understand right at that moment that it's grief. You don't understand that grief is a prolonged sadness. Grief is what sticks with you and stays with you, and sometimes how it goes away and then it'll come right back. It'll come back in bits and pieces, and then sometimes it'll come back full blast. But meanwhile, you still have to manage your entire life. So those are some of the things that I have experienced in life. And this story kind of correlates with that, because every time I would try to move forward, or every time I would see what was happening, every time I knew I had to make a decision and I couldn't confer with the person, I had to I had to be a different mommy. I had to be a different daughter, because now I had to deal with my parents a little different, because now I can't be the daughter of the year for them. Now I have to be the mother of the year. I'm working. I have to be the employee of the year. I'm paying my bills. I have to be the good the steward that God impresses upon me, so that I can manage my bills and be where I need to be for my children's sake. Each version of me was created based on circumstance. And the unfortunate thing is, it happened just like that. I didn't have time to breathe. I didn't have time to think. I was in survival mode. And being in survival mode pushes you to work, to keep up the pace, to do what must be done. You don't have seconds to think about it, process, strategize. So yeah, those are the things that, I think that need to be shared with people so that they can learn to overcome, because it's difficult. A human being is difficult. Accepting other people, having people accept you, trying to figure out who you are, choosing and having an identity, and then something disrupts that identity, and now you don't know who the heck you are, and having to accept new versions of yourself. It's almost like, it's like the transition is difficult. That transition is so difficult. It's like going from elementary school to high school. In that eighth grade year, you're like, I'm the popular kid on the block. And then as soon as you transition to high school, it's like, oh my God, nobody knows me. You're starting all over again. And each time, another version of you is required in order for you to move forward. It's that same transition process. Oh my God, nobody knows me here.
I love this. This is so rich. And I think that's in any situation that we go through, isn't it? Like
Yes.
things, situations and storms that we go through, it molds us, it shapes us, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I don't know what this is, but I think it's the greatest rebirth of you every single time you go through a situation. And I love that what you were saying. You haven't really got time to process, like you were saying. You haven't got time for that, because it's all going on, isn't it? It's all happening.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time.
At the same
So you
time.
guys, yeah. So you guys, if you're listening to this, put your comments in the comment section. People on Facebook, hit the like button if you're getting something from what Beth is saying here. So Beth, you were talking about the situation and what you've gone through, and you're sort of wanting to help people and shape people to be better versions of themselves. Is that
Yeah.
sort of what I'm getting? Yeah.
Yes. To learn how to
Yeah.
accept it, though, we have to. So the thing is, right, we have to accept it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that happen. You know how you can. Sometimes there are three friends. The friend in the middle is, she's friends with her, she's friends with her. If this girl in the middle is missing, these two odd people they can't figure it out. They don't always, they need that, it's like a safety net. They need that person, they need that person. But there'll come a time where that person in the middle may be missing, and those two other people will have to manage. That's perspective. It's perspective for just how emptiness looks, how starting over looks, how accepting the fact that the girl in the middle is just not going to be here. And if we're going to go out and have fun, we're going to have to learn how to have fun in her absence. We're going to have to create a lane that exists for just me and you in her absence. We're going to have to trust one another and not always look for her to be the anchor in her absence. And no matter what that looks like, no matter what it looks like, we have to do this. But it takes two of us, right? And in the case where it takes just us to move forward, we have to accept what has to be done to move forward. We have to accept. There's no way around it. And that takes time, right? Because it's a part of processing. And I think those are the pieces that we don't share enough. There's processing. We have to process. We can't wake up tomorrow and go, okay, whew, I'm divorced. I'm good. I'm going to date now. I'm going to be a great mother. I'm going to do this. No. Someone still has to pick up the kids from school. The bills still need to be paid. In some cases, you might have to find somewhere to relocate. Whatever the situation is, you can't wake up the next day thinking you're going to take care and manage everything in the first or second day. And sometimes it doesn't happen in the first or second year. But accepting the process is what makes it easier. Dismissing intrusive thoughts, staying in the present. And that's very important. We have to stay in the present. We can't drift. And even if we drift, we got to bring ourselves back. You got to know you're drifting. You're sitting by the window, you're having a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. You're sitting on your porch, your new porch, because you don't have the old one. Or you're sitting in your living room on a new chair that you just bought. And you're thinking back, like, I remember when I used to make the coffee and my husband used to argue about the sugar. And now all I wish is I could put sugar in this coffee. Yeah, okay. We get it. I get it. We acknowledge that thought. It's okay that you're having that thought. You're human. It's okay to have those thoughts. But when you know you're having that thought on Monday, and then it's happening again on Tuesday, and then it comes back on Thursday, by Friday you should be saying, okay, I'm spending too much time with this guy and he's no longer here. How do I dismiss? How do I get past this? What do I do? What so maybe I need to stop drinking coffee at 7 a.m. before I go to work. Maybe I need to get dressed and pick up a cup of coffee on the way, change my routine. Maybe my routine can't look like it used to, so that the version of myself that needs to come to fruition can do so in a healthier state. Maybe I have to change my hair. Maybe I have to change my hairstylist because my husband used to drop me off at the hair salon. Maybe I have to change what I wear. Maybe I should throw away all my earrings because he liked all of them. Maybe I'll start fresh. I'll get the same kind of earrings that I like because I'm still me. But maybe I'll change these because they were his favorite. And again, that's not something you can deal with right away. You can't make those changes instantaneously. But by Friday, Saturday, we should have a plan. And then if we can't stick with that plan, we should seek support. Because now I can't do it on my own. And it's very important because sometimes we can't. And I think we punish ourselves by looking at other people, seeing what other people were capable of, asking ourselves, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? I'm strong too. Why can't I do that? This may not be your place of strength. This may not be your space. Maybe you need support. Maybe you need someone to encourage you while you're in this space. Maybe grief is setting in and you're not educated on grief. Maybe you're trying to read about it and you don't want to read about anything because you're too busy thinking about what you want to think about. You're allowing intrusive thoughts to come into your space and it's overcrowding you. Maybe. And if that's the case, then we got to do something about it. We have to do something about it.
Beth, this is so enriching and so powerful.
Thank you.
It will help a lot of people. And I like that. I like when you're saying it seems like to me there's little triggers, isn't there? Like what you dress, what you wear, even certain foods can be triggered. It
Yes.
seems like things trigger the past or trigger memories and takes you back. And that's when things flood in even more. So you're sort of changing your routine, guys. Changing your routines and doing something different. And yeah, this is very powerful. This could be on different sort of things. It don't have to be about ex-partners or anything, but
Absolutely.
things that in life in general, isn't it?
Your
It
job,
really
your
is.
car.
Yeah.
Well, here's a different perspective, right? There are women of age. I'm becoming a woman of age, and at some point, God is, we've been given the gift of giving life. I can give birth. I can bring life into the world. When you get a certain age, that starts to diminish. That ability starts to diminish, and the more it sneaks and creeps in, the more you think about, oh my gosh, I'm no longer a birth giver. So now what am I? My identity has been attached to having the ability to have a child, worrying about birth control, managing my cycle. These are the things that I've been doing as a woman for so long. At some point, those things are going to stop. And when they do, I'm going to become a different version of myself because I won't be the person who's capable of giving birth. I won't have to go to the doctor to manage birth control. I won't have to do those things. But even though I'll have freedom in one space, I'll think back on the time when I did have the opportunity. And then that's where grief can set in. I should have had more children. I should have. And we're so hard on ourselves with accepting the newest version of ourselves. Once I have to accept that newest version of myself, which is creeping up slowly, I think about it. Where our hair changes. Some of us are experiencing change of color. That grief sets in like, oh my God, I remember when all my hair was black. Now I have to get There are things that you have to do now to maintenance your hair to have a certain look that you didn't have to do before. Grief can set into those places. And once it does, we have to be educated with the tools to process out of that.
Wow. Do you know, it's the other day I was talking to someone about, you know, when your kids leave home and to be in this space now as women of age, it's discovering who you are and learning and finding out who you are, because all you have been is mother. So there's some mothers out here, all you've been his
Yes.
mum,
Yes.
and it's finding that identity, finding who you are in the process, because it is like literal grief.
Yep.
And so it's discovering who you are and being okay, and being having grace upon yourself as well, and just accepting it. But so how would you tell somebody or a mother that, you know, her child's grown up now, they've left home, they're in a different space, their children, how do you sort of tell that mother to go through the process of this? What's the tools? What would she need to do?
So part of what I did was my children are adults now. And I have a good relationship with both of them. But there was a time when I was sad because they didn't need me to cook dinner for them anymore. You know, they would come in with food and I'd cook and no one would eat. And I would feel sad. And sometimes grief started to set in because now I'm like, oh my God, my kids don't need me for anything. They're so self-sufficient and independent. Who am I? And in that space, I started to learn what it is that I truly liked. I've made, I didn't make grilled cheeses because my children don't like grilled cheese. I love them. So now I get to make them. So in the spaces where I think grief was trying to strong arm me, I learned how to dismiss some of those intrusive thoughts, and I had to learn how to do them at a time where I would have to do it 3-4 times a day. Like the thought would come 3-4 times a day. So it doesn't go away. You have to dismiss it every time it comes in, and then replace it with something that's healthy and valuable. So if I said, if I'm getting off work and I go, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to cook tonight because my kids aren't coming home and they're not going to want to eat. I guess I'll go to the mall. But it wasn't for retail therapy. It was for the walk. It was the drive there. It was parking a couple of spaces from the door so that I could walk. There was no stroller, no carriage. There was nothing to preclude me from being in a space where I was comfortable. I didn't have to rush. There was no pressure. So I think what can happen is once we identify who the version that we're becoming, we embrace it. And those dismissive thoughts that I had about grief that wanted to overtake me, I dismissed those thoughts as quickly as possible. Some of them all snuck through, but once I knew it was there, I would dismiss it and I would replace it with a positive thought. And now those new positive thoughts have put me in a space where I have new hobbies. I've tried new foods. I explore way more restaurants. I change my hair from time to time. Sometimes I wear braid. I used to wear this hairstyle forever. Now I change things because I have the freedom to think about what I want. I have the freedom to be a little selfish about myself. And then when I make those changes, I award myself by standing confident in the changes that I made. And that not only helps me appreciate me, but it helps me appreciate the newer version of myself. So it's a process.
I like that, Beth. And it's like rewarding yourself, treating yourself, go out, go for walks, have meals. You can do more things and just applauding yourself, really. You know, you've raised your children. Now it's time for you. Now it's time for you to sort of get out there and do what you have to do. This is just so rich. And guys, remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and put a comment in the comment section, or put something in the comment section. Hit the like button, and on Beth's audience as well, because we need feedback, guys. We need to know, are you enjoying this?
Absolutely.
You know, we need to know. But Beth, this has been really good, and I really enjoyed it because you just got this way of just explaining something, and it's just so simplistic, but it comes with meat. It's
Thank
not
you.
too, yeah, it's not too, what's the word? Heavy.
Okay.
It's just simplistic, but it's coming with a lot of impact. And I
Okay.
like that. I
I
like that.
appreciate that. Thank
And
you.
yeah, I like that because you're not heavy, heavy. It's just simplistic and impactful. So, what? So, what message do you have to share to the audience? Um, of anything that's on your heart or anything you want to say to the audience?
I would like to say to the audience that we apply a lot of pressure to ourselves with the valued opinions of our friends, with the valued opinions of our family members, with societal and systemic beliefs. We're encouraged by celebrities who live a lifestyle that we probably won't ever afford, and that's okay. But in that space where people are who they are and they're doing what they're doing, we have to be mindful that those people came from a space too, and they either they elevated. And if we set our mind to do whatever it is that we want to do, we have to first figure out what we want to do outside of those opinions. Have to figure out who you are outside of that, because you don't want to live in a space where you're living up to someone else's expectations. Set your own. Set your own expectations. Why is the opinion of another person so valued over your own? Trust your own voice. Know when you're speaking to yourself and when you should speak to yourself. Know what needs to be said to you. I'm not saying that advice is not good. There is a time where we need to call a friend or we need to call a trusted advisor to kind of figure out the next step. But don't let that advice um, dictate what it is that you should do. At some point, we have to start figuring it out. Just like when we go to a job, you get the job thinking about 2, 3 days of training. At some point, they give you the basis. It's the bare minimum of what you should do. But the expectation is that you're going to figure it out. And that's what it is when we have advice. When we look at other people, we see what other people are doing, how they're living. I would love to live like a celebrity. I would love not to have to go to work. I would love to have a car that flies and drives, on autopilot. But I don't have that. But what I do have, I appreciate. I take my baby to the car wash. I get her washed. I make her smell wonderful. And then in my head, when I drive around, I'm on air. But those are the things that I do so that I can be mindful that I need to appreciate who I am, what I have, and even if I can't have or do better, it starts here. It can start with an opinion, but the opinion will resonate. But I have to strategize to determine what it's going to look like for me. What is the life that I want look like for me? And then what are the steps I need to take to get there? And I love this topic, Tasha, because no looking back, that's a part of the moving forward. We have to move forward. In order to move back forward, you can't look back to stay back. You look back to encourage you to move forward. You move the mountain by chipping away at it piece by piece. And I know when you're looking in front of it, it's like, this thing is big. How in the heck am I supposed to get through? You're going to get through that. You're going to get a tunnel. You just got to keep chipping away at it, which takes patience, acceptance, resilience.
That's right. I think in today's society, people don't want to go for the process.
Right,
The process is the hardest part. Like you said, they just want a shortcut. Get up in the morning. Oh, it's all done. It's a process you have to go through, and the
right.
process is the painful, hardest part. But you will get there. Like you said, keep chipping at the mountain, and it's true, guys. I hope you are getting something from this because you're impacting me. I'm getting bits from you as well. Like, yeah, I've never looked at it like that. So I hope you guys are listening to what Beth is saying because
Yeah.
it's very impactful. Um, I like that. I like that. You're not looking back and just keep moving forward, because that's how you get a better version of yourself, as you
Yes.
were saying. So, what exciting projects have you got coming up? What is going on in your life right now? Where can people find you if they want to hear more of your amazing voice?
So I wanted to start a podcast about maybe 3 years ago, but I was in a grieving process. I was in a state where I didn't want to say my own name. I used to hate hearing people call my name. That's how sad I was. I was in a state of grief, and I didn't know what grief was. I just thought I was sad. I've always heard the word depression. And then I'm like, oh, this can't be depression. It has to be something else, because it would go away, it would come back. So 3 years ago, I wanted to do this, but I didn't have the wherewithal to do it. But God has laid it on my heart at this point to get it done. So I've been studying people, podcasters like yourself and a couple of other mentors that I have who are, insightful. So I've been doing that. And then I started the Beth B. It was originally named Beth B Effect, but someone else has that name. They have the effect part. So to be safe, I'm putting the Beth B shift, but kind of um, brings value actually to what it is I'm trying to do, because I want people to see what it is they're going through. They're not the only ones, but there is a shift, right? Because after a while, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You have to move forward with it. And once you shift, that's kind of what puts you in a direction of being a better version of yourself. So any person who's interested, you guys can catch me on YouTube. I have a channel there, Beth B Shift. I'm also on Facebook. I tried to create a space just for that. That's away from my personal life. So if anyone has any questions or they want to comment, the things that they share in that space is not connected to who they are in their everyday life.
Oh, that's lovely. And please, please go and follow. I introduced you wrong. I said project. Your Beth B Effect. I'm so sorry.
It's
I
okay.
realised. I thought I said
It's
project,
the
but
best
it's
B
effect.
shift. When we started, it was effect, but it's okay because it's okay. It's the best B
It's,
shift. Oh yeah.
it's the Beth B shift. Okay, so if it doesn't match the template there, but she's here anyway, and go and follow this lovely lady and her Facebook and her YouTube, and you will be uplifted, you will be inspired, because she's here and God's put her here to help somebody, and somebody needs to hear your message and hear what you've got to say. And thank you. All the people from the UK are going to hear this, and I hope
I
somebody gets inspired.
I have to tell you how exciting I am. I truly appreciate you for having me. I love your accent. I adore it. And this is so
Oh,
inspiring because now I'm part of the UK family and you guys are part of my family. So I truly appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your space with me and allowing me to come and have this moment. I truly appreciate it. This is valued, and it means a lot. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And we love having you over here. And I love you guys from America. You're just always up for it. You guys like, yeah, well, come on. And I love that. It's really good. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions before we hit out of this place. So these are my trivia questions I'm going to give to you.
Okay.
What is your favorite music, Beth?
My favorite music is house music. There is a music, yeah, it's
Wow.
a that house music speaks to your soul. Like it speaks to me. I could be in a place where I'm sunk in, or I could be in a place where I'm feeling inspired. And no matter where I am, that music always says something. Either it expounds on the inspiration I have, or it pulls me out of the sadness that I'm in.
Wow. Okay. And what is your favorite food? What does Beth like to eat? What's your favorite food?
Oh man, Beth likes seafood, and the unfortunate thing is I can't choose between lobster and crab legs.
Oh,
I can't choose between. So they're one and one. If you offer me one, I'll probably ask you for both.
okay. That's not. I like seafood. I can go
Okay.
for that. And last one, your favorite color. What is your favorite color?
Purple, because it is the
Purple.
representation of the love of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. Praise God. And I like that. It is the representation of Jesus Christ. So, guys, thank you for tuning in on Talks Tasha, and go and check out Beth on her YouTube. Beth, it's such a pleasure to have you on Talks Tasha, and
Thank
people
you.
are going to watch this on replay and be blessed by it.
I
So,
appreciate you.
guys, hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and I will be back again. God bless you all, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, Beth.
You
Bye.
too. Stay
Bye.
grounded.
Andrew. Bye.